Live from the J.C. Newman Cigar Studio in Boston, Massachusetts, and the Gurkha Cigar Studio in beautiful British Columbia. Welcome to the Smokin Tabacco Show with your hosts, Matt Tabacco and Mitchell Santaga.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of the Smokin Tabacco Show. My name is Matt Tabacco from SmokinTabacco.com, and that is the third time that I have started the show and have fixed, and then it still do it again, our intro thing, our intro video. I don't know what, something, I talked about this in a few spare notes ago, for those who remember, being pretty annoyed with our current broadcast system. But for some reason, I don't know what it is. I have fixed that so many times, and I'm like, all right, it's good. File's locked in. And I go to the next show, and then, like, that whole thing just stops. And I'm like, what's going on? This is getting very annoying. So I apologize for that.
Hopefully it will change soon in terms of we'll have a new streaming platform. Hopefully
We're
soon.
working on it. We're trying. It's just
These kinds of things take time.
well, we're also
technical swap overs.
we're literally in the process of moving at the moment, so I know that that's definitely taking precedence over my head
Yes.
my head of production and design. So
A lot of news, a lot of new this year and going into New Year. You know, you got a new website which you should go check out, smokintabacco.com.
yeah, big year. This was a big year.
Check out all of our news and reviews.
This was a big year for Smokin Tabacco, as well as I think everybody on the team personally.
Yep.
Just a lot happened, but
You know, Kevin technically joined it this year
yep,
officially.
yeah, he came and
I
blossomed.
technically also was I was late last year, early this year, right? So
This was like your first full year. I mean, you got here last year, but
first
this was your
full
first
year,
full
yes.
year. Kevin
Coming
got
to my
here.
first-
When did Kevin come on? I forget.
It was before PCA, but I don't think he had written anything officially for the site prior to PCA.
Early spring.
Yeah.
So
I
most of
think
the year.
that's
He was
when
here
it
most of
was.
the year.
It was, yeah. I would say it was a good portion of the year, for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, the team grew, and it might be growing even more.
Yep.
Heading into
Yep.
2024. So, and yeah, like Mitchell said, brand new website. You know, a lot of work and time went into that. You know, and our shout out to our friends at Bistro Studios. You know, to Matt and everyone over there who, you know, designed it, built it, programmed it, and continues to, you know, keep it functional.
Yeah.
I tell you, it's not cheap.
Beautiful.
It's not cheap, but
It's beautiful, yeah.
but you know they do a great job. So, you know, it just whatever we need, I bug them all the time. But when you're obsessed with perfection and, you know, constantly on top of everything, that happens. So thank you to them for also having the patience to deal with my hundreds of emails all the time. So
yeah, lots of new this year. Lots of new.
lots of new products, lots of new cigars. You know, which we'll talk a little bit about. We're not gonna. This is not our top 25 show, so sorry if that was maybe a little misleading, but that will come in January. The list is being finalized, and you know, the team's working hard on that, and we're almost there. So we're gonna set that up for January. I also want to do that after I'm done moving and all of that nonsense. So,
Yep.
let's see. Where do I want to begin today? I mean, there's so much to talk about. First of all, shout out to my boy Ryan Beck. You know, he's a new follower of this show. He loves to come out and support the show. He's a friend of mine, and he's not a cigar smoker, but he enjoys entertainment, and I have to look at his face all day. So whatever I can do to add laughter to that is always a huge plus for me. So he's here tonight. So as well as everyone else that's always here listening and watching with us, as always, we love and support you.
Like and subscribe to the show and get those notifications going. And hey, tell your
Ooh.
friends and family you're
That's
watching
right.
Smokin Tabacco, and everything that's happened that's exciting this year we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
So share that show out.
Couple of comments to make. First of all, I'm going to talk about what I'm smoking and what I'm lighting it with.
Yeah.
I know you're not smoking tonight, but you're drinking some wine, and I'm going to definitely check in with you on the wine in a beat. But first of all, let's get this going. Our cigars are once again brought to you by our very good friends at Two Guys Smoke Shop and twoguyscigars.com. That's right, the number 2, guyscigars.com. I am smoking I bet you they don't have these in stock anymore, but they do sell tons of products from JC Newman. This is the Yagua, and I don't know what year this is from, but I know it's not one of the newer ones. These have been sitting around for a few years, so they got some age on them too. But this is the Yagua from JC Newman. This is a great cigar. We had no guests on the show tonight, so I was trying to figure out what I wanted to smoke, and I was like, hey, let's see what's around. And I found the box, and I was like, oh, I didn't even realize I still had these. And I was like, I'm going to have one of these. It's been a beat. And, JC, they're here supporting us every week, JC Newman Cigar Co. So I figured, hey, why not? Let's light one of these up. And once again, I am cutting and lighting my cigars with none other than Dupont products. That's right, featuring, this will probably be the last show that I feature this, because I'll have a new one for you on the next one. This is the Defi Extreme, featuring the twin torch jet lighter with the massive side view fuel window. I don't know what the official term is. That's what I like to call it. Always lights and roasts my cigars very well. And the Dupont cutters are some of the sharpest that I've ever had. I mean, they slice through cigars like butter, like a hot knife through butter. I mean, it's nothing but precision and quality from Dupont. Be exceptional. So, yes, Ryan, you did get a shout out. The more you comment, the more I'm going to talk about you. So, just keep that in mind, and then we can talk about this tomorrow when I get in. So this will be hilarious. Vince is with us here tonight. He's smoking a Macalif Leyenda Toro. That's another new product that came out this year, the Toro size and the Leyenda. Macalif had an interesting year. They introduced some line, not really, yeah, like line extensions, some new sizes with some of their stuff. They introduced a whole new line. It was their first new line that they introduced since 2020 with the Macalif Black, which we'll talk about again when we do the news. For those who follow the show, But yeah, I mean, that cigar was pretty good. In my opinion, probably one of the best, if not the best cigar that Macalif has made to date. Big year for them with the Macalif Black, which, I think is going to do well at the end of the year on the list this year.
Absolutely, yeah. I think coming in at a great price point, and especially as every week we just see more and more and more every brand saying price increase, right? Like 2 years ago, that $6 to $10 mark was kind of like that ballpark mark that you were looking for cigars. Easily now you're looking at 12 to 16. You're like almost double now what you were just 2 or 3 years ago for that kind of like really like solid, you're always going to get a good smoke. But that, I think almost every Vitola coming in at sub $10 for the Macalif Black.
Can't
really
it's
go wrong.
7 for the Robusto,
Or around 10.
8,
Yeah.
7 for the Robusto, 8 for the Toro, if I remember correctly.
So you can't really go wrong. I expect them in the next year to 5 years to be coming out with line extensions on that and really building that black brand to more Vitolas and even maybe just a couple of like wrapper variations on that.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, obviously it's a success for them so far, and it'll be interesting to see what they do with it moving forward. But that's one company that I would say had a pretty good year, at least so far. I mean, I know all the lists aren't out yet, so I don't know how it's going to rank with everybody, or if it becomes a Charlie's consensus or whatever. But I still think it's a win. It was a great cigar, and I haven't really heard any negativity about it. I don't think I've talked to anyone who didn't like it, so that's a win. People are buying it because they like it. It's moving. Yep. So you got to give them credit for that. This also was like the year of. I want to jump on this now while it's fresh. Because this was also like kind of, at least the end of the year. The end of the year was kind of like the year of the trademark dispute. You know what I mean? It's like we had, Serafín de Cuba accusing Fratello
Yep.
of trademark infringement, and that is still a developing story. There's been some questions, nothing official, but in conversations and stuff that's been had. I know Pete Johnson brought light to this. There's a bundle cigar out there called Cigars Fugazi, and a lot of them are blended to be similar to existing brands we all know and love. And on the packaging, it actually lists those cigars by name. And I know that is something that people are looking into right now over, the names being used on the product. It's not being called that, but the names are being used. I know there's been a lot of discussions there. And then today, it's the heavyweight championship. That's right. It's the final round. It's Tyson versus Holyfield. Sorry, I don't know why I blanked on that. It's Gurkha against Davidoff, which I'm going to be honest with you. I called this earlier in the year, and I will say when we went to the trade show back in July, I was the one who went to the Gurkha booth, and I talked to Juan Lopez, and he was, showing me, every year we do the same thing with everybody. We go in the booth, and they give us the presentation of, like, this is what we have, this is what it is, how many boxes, and so on and so forth. So, we went through the collection, and he brought out the Dragon, beautiful box, great packaging, told us a little bit about it. And then, just before he was kind of done with that, and he was switching to, like, the next box he was going to show us, excuse me. I apologize for that. He said very quickly, he's like, oh, and we trademarked it, so no one else can use it. And I was like, oh, yeah. And I kind of just laughed and was like, not that I didn't believe him, but I'm like, you're the Dragon, though. I don't know. How do you police that? I mean, that's one that everyone's using, and did they really get that trademark? So, but I don't know. I just kind of was like, well, I don't know. We'll see. But then the more I thought about it, I'm like, if they have that trademark, and that is true, that's going to be a problem for a lot of people. And I started to get on that bandwagon of like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And then Davidoff announced formally, you're the Dragon, which we all know and talked about. And I was waiting for Gurkha. I'm like, when's Gurkha's coming? Because I mean, we knew it was coming. And I was waiting for the announcement, and it came in yesterday. And I said, oh, all right, Gurkha's is out. And then today, I spoke to Bianca Lopez, Director of Marketing for Gurkha Cigar Group, who officially told me very limited information because it is an ongoing legal case, but told me personally on the phone that they do own the trademark. They've owned that trademark since 2009, and they have policed it before to protect it, and that's pretty much what they're doing now. And I do know that I'm pretty sure they also own the trademark for just the word Dragon because they have another cigar that uses, the Dragon.
They have like I think like 9, 7 or 8 or something like that, like Dragon things, like Dragon and this, Dragon and that.
Yep.
I think Dragon on its own as well. So they own a few different like versions of that. So yeah, it's definitely tricky.
So yeah, it's interesting. Oh, by the way, my buddy Ryan here has a question for you. What kind of wine is he drinking? Let's actually establish that. I'm so sorry, Ryan. I should have jumped on that. Alesco.
Alcio, I think.
Alcio. I'm horrible with pronunciation. Anyone who watches the show regularly knows that.
I'm pretty sure it's a Spanish wine.
Spanish red?
Tempranillo. It's red, yes. It's red. I'm not 100% the region, but I'm
Ryan, I bet you
Spain, yes.
Ryan, if you're still watching,
Spain.
I bet you Steve drinks that out of the bottle. No lie.
Yeah, this is to kind of break up this this very fruit forward, but then quite, I'd say, very dry on the finish. It's not the most drying I've ever had, but it's quite dry on the finish, so it cuts off pretty quick, but it's definitely juicy, heavy, full-bodied wine up front, and lots of deep, rich, like currant notes. And
give that bad boy a sip. Taste it, let it mellow, don't rush it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good. It's actually, when I first opened it a few days ago, it was a little too intense and a little too drying. A few days with the bottle open, actually, it's helped a lot. So I think if you were to buy the bottle, this was a 2019, maybe a little bit of age might bring down some of that drying and tannin.
Decant it
With the
maybe.
bottle. Yeah, maybe decant it, give it some air if you're gonna have it. Also, the first day I drank it, it was room temperature. Um, he's a bag slapper.
Not you.
Dude,
Not
bag wines.
not you.
Bag wine is just, I know, bag wine is just another level of consumption.
Now
Um,
we one of the
yeah.
guys we work with is a wine guy, and he told us the other day that his wife asked him why why all the wine was gone, but there were no dirty glasses in the sink. He said because I drink it out of the bottle, and so um,
Drink
he's
straight out the bag.
he's like he told us he's like yeah I think it was like the middle of the week, and he was like yeah he's like we buy a box of wine every week, like a case like a case of
Jeez.
bottles, and he was like and it's already gone. And supposedly. So, um, and then
Nice.
Ryan comments and says, "Oh, he's a bag slapper." So, I don't know.
Yeah,
Is
I've
he a
only
box wine
recently
guy?
been
I don't
into
even
the
remember
wine.
that.
I've only recently gotten into the wine. I'd say Italian and French are so far my go-tos. Some Brunellos, some Chiantis, but yeah, this is okay. This ain't too bad. I think in Canada it's under $20, so that's probably like a $9 bottle in the States.
Probably.
Yeah,
That sounds
I
about
think it
right.
goes for $8 or $9. Yeah, our again, alongside our cigar taxes, Canada has humongous alcohol taxes,
Oh,
and they
gee, what
seem
a
to go up
surprise.
every 3 to 5 years.
Oh, gee, what a surprise.
Somehow, I don't understand. But yeah, it's pretty good.
This is why I'm moving to the great state of New Hampshire, so I can get out of Little Canada, also known as Massachusetts.
Yeah,
So,
I'm sure by the end of this show, I'll have some nice purple lips.
oh, here's a good
White wine,
question.
interesting.
Yeah. Do you
Yes.
drink a white wine with a lighter cigar and a red with a stronger cigar, pairing wise? You know, I, in the common, I don't want to say common sense because that comes across the wrong way. But what I'm trying to say is, you're
Yeah, no.
in the general sense of thinking, one would assume yes, like a lighter cigar that's milder, softer, not as much body and strength to it. Yeah, a softer, lighter, maybe slightly fruitier white wine does make a lot of sense. They're going to balance each other out. So, of course, then you go
Yep.
to like a full-bodied red, heavier, deeper wine, a lot of flavor. Go to stronger cigar. They're not going to clash. You're not going to grab like a Davidoff signature and then like a deep, bold Merlot. No. You're not going to do that. It's going to the wine's just going to overpower all the notes you get off that cigar and wash it
Yep.
right out. Now, there's some who probably would disagree with me, but to me, that's my chain of thought. I like because whenever I smoke, and I do a kind of pairing, most of the time I just like to drink water when I smoke because that's that's
Yeah.
what I find most
Same.
enjoyable. Um, so, but when I do, yeah, I try to find something that doesn't, um, overpower the other. Because there's nothing I hate more than when I'm smoking and then I sip on something and then that taste in my mouth just goes
Exactly.
and it's like ugh, it's too much. And then you go back to the
Definitely. Yeah.
cigar and you bring the smoke back in and it's just all wonky.
With pairing, pairing, a lot of people think, oh, I'm trying to match up flavors, but a lot of the times, at the end of the day, with drink and cigar pairings, I find the most important thing overall. Like, obviously, you still have to have something decently flavor wise, but the most important thing is finding that strength level to match. Because if it is out of balance, no matter what the flavors are, one's gonna overpower the other, and it's gonna turn into just like, this isn't really a pairing. This is me smoking a cigar and then sometimes taking a sip of something, and you're gonna lose that aspect of two things adding to a greater sum of all their parts, right? And that's at the end of the day, the goal of a pairing is to try to elevate both of them, or at least change them to create an experience that's pleasant in both the drink aspect and the smoking aspect. So that's what I find, is that you want to really find something that's going to match up strength wise. So in theory, finding a lighter white with a lighter cigar would theoretically work. But again, after that, then it is kind of finding like, do you do contrasting, or do you do, complementing flavor notes, right? If you have a sweeter cedary cigar, do you find like a sweeter wine to go with it, or do you find something on the opposite end to maybe fill in the void that cigar doesn't offer, and together they have like a full palate experience, right? Like, when you're cooking, for example, you don't, sweet and spicy kind of go together and things like that. It's not like you just add sweet on top of sweet. So pairing's a whole exploratory thing, um, that some people love, and then some people absolutely detest, and they believe that you should never smoke cigars with anything other than water. So
Some people, not me. Even though I like water most of the time, just because it's simple, and I try to be more of a simple guy nowadays.
yeah,
But I wouldn't argue against it either. Like that's the thing. At the end of the day, people like what they like, and whatever you want to
yep,
do, whatever
exactly.
you like, it's nobody's business. It's nobody's. Do what works for you. Um, that's the end of really my rant there. But I was also
Yeah,
I was looking at some of the
let's get back
comments.
on the Year of the Dragon.
Well, Stephen Pitts had commented and said, "Year of the
Oh,
Dragon is pending for cigars/tobacco for K, handouts
yes,
and
that's what
Co."
I heard out too.
And then all of the Year of the Dragon are showing as dead or canceled. If you go to
I don't know what that means.
if you go to smokingtobacco.com, I'll explain in a second. If you go to smokingtobacco.com and you look at the article that I put out today, and I wrote it, I actually was able to go on, and I have a screenshot, but I also have the link to where it goes of the listing of the trademark, which is listed as a live application / opposition pending. So, from my
Yeah.
understanding, yes, there is a opposition. However, I think technically, if it really comes down, I'm not an expert on the trademark stuff. I am mostly speaking on what I have been come to understand, and that is that this is a live trademark. There is an opposition pending, but because it was filed at a certain time, depending on the outcome of that, if you know if Gurkha gets fully approved on this, then they obviously have the legs to stand on. I think it also is going to depend on, a couple of things which I wrote about in the article, and you can go and read about it. But something that I picked up on, which is interesting, the trademark is listed as Year of Dragon, not Year of the Dragon, Year of Dragon. So again, I'm not an expert on trademark stuff. This is something that I've been trying to learn more and more about the last couple of years. But I'm curious on how the missing of how specific that needs to be
Yeah.
in terms of the legal the process. Davidoff released a cigar, Year of the Dragon, as did Gurkha. However, Gurkha's under the Keihan Sosha & Co. Incorporated, who owns this, it's listed as Year of Dragon. So I know it's close, and I know arguments
Yeah.
will be made, but I don't know how black and white or cut and dry that missing of the will impact
Well,
this.
and even prior to that, they still have somewhat of a claim over having so many dragon like trademarks, saying that they pretty much own the realm of the word dragon and hopefully most of its counterparts within the industry, right? And they could even go on possibly on the basis of saying, just like Fuente has with their X in terms of that, saying dragon, or even like we mentioned Pete before. I think he's there's been stuff with anyone time someone's included like monster or even things like that. They kind of own that realm of what does encompass dragon itself. And again, even having Year of Dragon is pretty soon like the argument is always, can the public become confused? We own this. We've been known to own this. You did something that is similar enough that people could think that it's ours, but it's not ours, right? I think at the end of the day, that's usually what trademark is there to protect, is like, something definitive there. And again, owning so many Dragon trademarks already, I don't know what other brands own Dragon-based trademarks.
Well, I believe, and I haven't looked this one up, but I understand that Gurkha owns just Dragon, in pertaining to the cigar and tobacco products. How many other variations of a Dragon something? I don't know. I also know that, according to Bianca Lopez, when I spoke to her on the phone today, when she gave me her official statement, she did say she said we also own several other year of the Zodiac trademarks. She didn't tell me specifically which, and I haven't found them all yet, but I know that according to her, she has multiple.
Yeah, from what I've found, it's Dragon, Dragonfire, Dragon Slayer, Imperial Dragon, Red Dragon, Royal Dragon, and Dragon Lord, which are the 7 that they trademarked back in 2009, and then again, like the one they more recently did earlier this year, of Year of the Dragon, which again is in that pending stage. So it's like it's live, but it's also being fought against. So I
Contested.
don't know if that holds up in course, right? It's contested, yeah. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky. Again, neither of us are lawyers. This is all speculation in terms of what's going on outside of just our basis of what we could think of. But yeah, it will be interesting to see. And then, like you said, will Gurkha also either have they contacted every other brand that have created a year of cigar already as well, and all those brands have said, okay, we're gonna adjust things?
Well, what's interesting
Or
is
are they just Davidoff?
What's interesting is she obviously she told me that they're looking at Davidoff on this, and she gave me a statement on that. And it's funny, I didn't think to ask at the time, until after the story went out, and I might even follow up with her. But yeah, I mean, Maya Selva also released a Year of the Dragon.
Yep.
They called it Año del Dragon 2024, which is Year of the Dragon in Spanish, but
which they might have a better time fighting the trademark because it is in Spanish. There's a lot of English trademarks that when people use in Spanish, they're like, oh, well, it's like a different language.
However, I did peruse through the list of trademarks today for some other companies and stuff in the industry, just so I kind of get a feel for, kind of what's out there. And I did notice on some of them that they were listed as, like, especially ones with Spanish, and it said, translated in English is this word. So
yeah,
there's also that too. There's the actual translation that's listed within the trademark as well. So I don't know. They weren't named. Whether or not it's just because they're not on Gurkha's radar, I have no idea. Maybe it's because they want to go after Davidoff for being a bigger company, and obviously probably gonna do a lot better with the Dragon. But
by far the biggest release so far of the Dragon release, by far.
Oh, I mean, yeah. I mean, it's, and Davidoff, look, to Davidoff, they have been doing a Zodiac release for a while now, and we've talked about it the last couple of years. It seems to get more and more popular every year. It goes up in price every year. It is becoming a big deal for them. So, I mean, obviously, they're going to keep going with, the Dragon, which we saw this year. Last year was the Rabbit, and then before that it was the Tiger, and then before that I believe it was the Rat. Before that, it was the Pig.
They've done the whole thing. Technically, I think they actually started somewhat doing this in China in like 2012 or 2011. I think someone had reported.
Yeah.
And then eventually they actually released some of the cigars in like 2018 or 19 in the U.S. But they actually didn't call them Year of. They called them like a
Cuvée Selection 2012 Year of the Dragon was the cigar you're referring
to.
It was released in 2011 by Davidoff in the Asian market.
There you go.
It was called Cuvée or QV Selection 2012 Year of the Dragon. However, it did not come in a fancy box. It didn't come in any. It didn't come in a box at all. It came in one of their like vault style, like craft paper bundles that Coop has bitched about for years and years, how he hates. So if you know, and I'm not picking on him. I'm saying if you've heard that conversation, that's what it came in. It came in that brown paper bundle that Coop's talked about. And it was and the thing is, the Year of the Dragon wasn't actually written on the bundle. What was written on the bundle was Cuvée Selection 2012. It went to Asia, and from what I understand, actually all of the blend and the specifics on that cigar were not disclosed. So not much else is really known about it. But it was not released here. It was released in Asia. That was the first one that they did. Then from there, it began to kind of evolve slowly over time to what you see today. And now it's become a major annual release for Davidoff. Big deal. Worldwide.
Yep. Yeah, and we'll see how this develops. Again, there's lots of, I don't know if we want to continue on with the Gurkha one, but you mentioned Serafin de Cuba most recently, right? With the Fratello.
Yep.
We had earlier on, very early or very late last year, the Cohiba trademark for Scandinavian tobacco had been overturned.
There's another one. That's
in
a big
favor
one.
of Cuba.
Yep.
And they've been trying to win that back over. It seems to like every 2 to 5 years, like a new judge kind of comes in and overturns it and then overturns it back and overturns it. But STG fighting for their Cohiba trademark. They're still selling Cohiba in the States, even though they technically don't own the trademark. The weird part is, again, it's like this weird gray area now where people could technically make their own Cohiba cigar in America because there's no American trademark. Like Habanos don't have jurisdiction in America, at least from what I know. Again, I'm not a lawyer. If there's a brand owner watching this, don't go make a cute Cohiba cigar. But it's very gray right now, this whole Cohiba thing. There hasn't been, at least from what I know, a major update on the Cohiba trademark ruling for the U.S., but that was another big story that came at the very end of last year. Hasn't really been talked about much.
Well, it's funny. I have the hold on. I'm trying to get this to work. This is just not.
There was another one that I'll just kind of touch on while you're getting that up.
Yeah.
I don't think we reported on it, but there was it CLE, I think, or Asylum came out with some Deadwood stuff. So that was a kind of an interesting trademark infringement because Deadwood Tobacco is a store, and they originally used their name in conjunction with Drew Estate to make like the Deadwood Tobacco cigars that were all, I think, where they called like the Sweet Jane. They're like somewhat infused or used pipe tobacco. They have that whole series that they did with Drew Estate, but then I think the Deadwood Tobacco store, again, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they ended up selling, or a new owner came in, and this new owner started making cigars with CLE under the Deadwood name. I think that's how it went.
So here's the thing.
That was an interesting battle. At the end of the day, CLE decided Drew Estate owned that. We're just going to name it to something totally different. And they ended up just changing the name of everything, and it's named a different cigar now. And they're coming out with the cigar under a different name. So, they respected that trademark that Drew Estate owns, and they had some, I think, did Christian end up talking about that a little bit on the show? I don't remember.
I don't think he did. I don't remember that.
But yeah, I think they ended up just saying, they had a quick discussion with them. And things ended up working out where there was no bad blood in the water there. It was just a misunderstanding in terms of new owners with new companies and where the name Deadwood lies, right? It's like, again, having a store being named it, who owns the true trademark? Is it Drew Estate who owns it, or is it the store who owns it, or do both own it, but within different categories of the realm? Either way, they renamed the cigar and it's coming out as a different name. I think it's like the CLE 867 or something like that, or the Asylum 867. I forget the exact name. That was an interesting kind of battle there.
So
for trademarks.
earlier before when you were talking about Cohiba, you had mentioned, and I was positive, but I didn't want to say it until I verified since I have this in front of me. No,
Yeah.
General Cigar Company is listed as the registered and live active trademark holder of the name Cohiba for the goods and services
Interesting.
of cigars. So they do hold
Interesting.
it. They do hold it.
Yeah.
Legally, they do hold it in the United States. What's also interesting is that there are a couple other live. One's pending. I think the other one is fully active. I have to find it. But there's a couple others that are listed. Yeah, they're both pending actually, but they're both live. And one is for a Cohiba rum featuring the classic Cohiba styling and branding as the cigars. The other one does not show, with the Indian head and all of that, the chief head. The other one doesn't show a logo; it just has the word mark. But in the goods and services of alcoholic beverages, namely distilled blue agave liquor, which is tequila, for those who know, the word mark Cohiba is live and pending. So it is interesting because, yeah, I mean, there are Cohiba liquors outside the U.S. Obviously, that's part of Habanos. I think what they make is cognac, though. I don't think it's rum. I think all their rum's through Havana Club, but I believe because there's a Cohiba liquor in it, but I believe it's a cognac that they actually have.
Now another interesting thing. So a lot of people, they see Cohiba and it's branded very differently than all the other, say, Cuban marks that are owned in the U.S. So a lot of the Cuban marks that are owned in the U.S., they take homage to the Cuban-esque design that was originally banded in Cuba.
Correct.
A lot of that is due to the fact that those families who actually owned the factories in Cuba when the revolution happened came into the U.S. and owned those designs and came in and kind of like trademarked them while they were coming in, right? And again had like legal precedent to use those designs in the United States.
Well, also half of those are under Altadas USA, who owned half of Habanos and Cuban Tobacco.
Exactly.
So they already had their connection there. So that's why, like Monte Cristo and Romeo, they look identical to their Cuban counterparts, whereas like Cohiba does not, and Hoyo de Monterrey does not.
So the reason why Cohiba doesn't, there's two parts. A, Cohiba was never like a brand that was owned by the people. It was always a brand.
It was always
owned
a government
by the
brand.
government.
Yes.
Yes. So that's part of it, is that the government of Cuba always they kind of created that brand for themselves. The second thing is that a guy named Sanj Patel, who owns some stores in New York, he actually owns the trademark for the design of
the yellow and
the
dots.
Cuban Cohiba.
Yeah.
The yellow and black with dots. And I don't know if he actually owns the head as well, because with his own brand, he uses like a artistic rendition of his own head.
Correct.
Here we go. Yeah, the SP1014. There we go, being talked about. So, but yeah, so he can use that on the SP1014 in the United States. He has his silhouetted head, the black and the yellow dots. He owns that trademark, and he's owned it, I think, since like for super long. Obviously, when you look at his internationally distributed stuff, they don't look like that, and because obviously Cohiba owned that in the international market, but in the U.S. it looks like quote unquote ripped off, but he owns it. He owns that trademark. So another interesting trademark thing, since we're on that topic.
I tell you, these trademark stories keep coming out, and every time they do, I learn just a little bit more. And as long as people,
it's always interesting.
As long as people keep suing each other, then I'll keep learning more.
Well,
it's, at this rate.
For me personally, I always hear two sides of it. Oh, why does the cigar industry do this? We need to be fighting, the big bad instead of each other. But at the end of the day, like, you do still need to try and. Oh, there we go. Hey, we call his name, and he arrived. Sanj Patel.
Yeah, he owns the head as well.
Sanj. Yeah, there you go. He owns the head as well. But you know, people need to protect their artistic and their trademarks, their branding, their logos,
Oh,
their
of
things.
course. I mean,
Whether
it's just
you
good
know
business.
the industry tries to be as friendly as we can, but for a brand to not come out, you know, whether or not these things need to become public knowledge or not is another debate. You know, sometimes it can help, sometimes it can't, but yeah, I think that companies should feel uh confident in going out there and still making these moves, and even still saying we're doing this, but understanding that, you know, at the end of the day we're still friends, but we need to protect ourselves for what we're doing, and it's purely a business decision, right? So
Yeah, I mean,
but
look, it's a part of doing business. It's a cost of doing
yes.
business. It's how you protect your brand, how you protect your
Oh
company.
yeah. 100%.
Anyone with a legal registered business probably has it trademarked. Um, it's funny. You can go on to the USPTO.gov. If you go under trademarks, you can look it up and you can see them and keep track. And that's how we do it. The only thing I have noticed though is sometimes you look for stuff that you know is trademarked and it doesn't come up. The search system is very wonky.
They need a
Like
better
even
search.
when you're very
Yeah.
specific, you have to scroll for a while before you find it because there's stuff that I search that I know is trademarked and it doesn't come up under the general search. You really got to dig for it. So it's a little bit confusing, but if you're willing to spend the time, you can figure it out.
Even sometimes even sometimes using Google or some form of like AI chat GPT to even aid you. There you go. Owned it since 1983 from Sanj. To help you kind of cross reference, right? Have multiple references to see, okay, is this word trademarked in the cigar industry? Check Google, check the PTO, like you mentioned, the US trademark, and maybe use like the an AI source, because again, the AI source is pretty much just scanning through the entire internet to see what exists under that, right? And they can probably scan. Ironically, Google and AI probably have a better search function for that website than their own website does.
True, true.
So yeah, that's the ironic part. But yeah, man, trademarks. We'll see. You know, we'll see what 2024 brings. In terms of trademarks, continuing battles.
Yeah, no, there's,
But
then you had, was it last year we had General and Arturo Fuente, were
yes, the X.
over the X from the BX3 and Opus X, with the X being on the band, and there was some suing and counter suing going on there. And I
Yeah.
don't remember what became of that, if anything, but
I don't
yeah,
know. Again, I don't think anything publicly was mentioned in terms of a resolution.
yeah. Um, Sorry, I'm looking at a couple of things here, which is kind of
Oh,
on
all good.
topic, but um, I find it so interesting to go through some of this. Also, I'm getting like so stuffy, and it's just driving me insane. It's just like it's so distracting. Um, I'm sorry. Anyway, let me get back to our website so I can get back onto the
Well,
There we go.
I think that's pretty much all
All the trademark
the
stuff. That's all the trademark
trademarks.
stuff.
Yeah. You know, sticking to pretty similar topic, you know, I want to talk about general FDA things, because, you know,
FDA
that
was a big
was,
year. It was a big year with FDA.
you know,
Judge Mehta threw the ruling
huge year.
out on the
Huge year.
regulation of premium handmade cigars, which an appeal has been filed by the FDA. We'll see where that leads. But as of right now, it was thrown out, and the FDA was told it cannot regulate premium cigars. And it's a win for the industry. Again, as we've been iterating this entire time, and I'm gonna grab something to blow my nose because this is just getting out of control. Um, the fight, that doesn't mean the fight is over. I mean, it's a win, and it buys us a lot of time for now. But the FDA is just going to keep trying to find ways to come after the industry. We're seeing it with they're going after specifically the flavored. They want a flavor ban, and then when they get
Well,
that, then you're seeing the states and towns, like some states have done it statewide. There's been towns that are doing it by town. all across the country. And that seems to be like the part of it. Then they'll come after other facets of it, and just try
Yep.
to take it down piece by piece. It's not over. You always
Yep.
gotta stay on top of this, but the result is if people don't push back on this, then people like you end up like Mitchell up in Canada where it sucks up there.
Yeah, so just the other day I actually found out that so we do have a flavor ban in Canada, but luckily somehow again I think Drew Estate helped with this and a few other brands. Uh, it was passed that we could, I think, as long as the cigar is over a certain weight, that is allowed to be flavored. But if it's under a certain weight, it was not. So like the little prime times or little things like that. And again, I think there was also a few other definitions that had to come in, like it had to be whole leaf tobacco and a few other little things here and there. But we do have a little bit of flavored tobacco in Canada, but it was banning a huge portion of them and only allowing some of them through. Uh, Again, the PCA, they have filed, or they went in front of the White House to remit the characterizing flavor rule in the United States. So that's a good thing. The PCA has come forward and they're saying they're putting a pretty hard stance on that one. So that is to help with the flavor fight, um, because one of the main things was the definition they're currently using for premium cigars. I think you're still muted, Matt.
I'm
Um,
sorry, I forgot that was
it's all
muted.
good.
I didn't want everyone to hear me blow my nose. That's why.
No, of course, that's great. I'm glad you used that for the blowing nose action.
You know,
But just a quick reminder.
I'm not going to
But
mention
yeah,
any
it's
names, but for what it's worth, I've watched these shows. It's never happened on this show, or our other show, but I've seen some shows where people have done some gross things on the air when either they forgot to mute or they just don't care. There's been some pretty ugly
hey,
belches. There's been some farts that have been ripped on the air. Again, not here, or at least ones you can
hey.
hear. But I've heard it. I've heard it. It's happened. So I try to be
It
courteous to
happens.
the listenership at home. They don't want to hear that. Maybe some of them do,
Yeah.
and
No,
that's a
thank you.
that's a whole nother discussion. But I think most people don't. So I try to keep it clean.
There's
But
other
yeah,
YouTube channels for that.
while it's funny. You're talking about trademarks and we're talking about FDA. So far, everything we've talked about has been like legal stuff. We've talked about mostly legal
Yeah.
stuff so
We'll,
far in this
we'll get
show.
through those legal things first.
I know it's kind of dry and boring, but at the same time, it's some of the bigger things that have happened this year.
Yep.
But it's true. The FDA fight goes on. Flavor bans or what have you, however facet of it you want to look at. It's still out there. It's still out there. It's not going away. So always again,
In saying
stay.
that, go you know go buy CRA packs. Go out, join the CRA. Go support the PCA.
Talk to your local retailers.
CigarAction.org.
Yeah, cigaraction.org. Oh, make sure you go on there and check that out. Always be in
Go to
touch
your
with your
local
local
retailer.
retailers. Ask questions. Ask, what, how can I? Is there any petitions right now going
You know,
on? Stuff like that, and just stay in the know.
yeah, it's sure these rules are going to affect businesses and things here and there, but at the end of the day, it does affect consumers the most. It's going to affect how much we're paying for cigars, how much we have access to cigars, and
Well,
you
us,
know,
not you, but yeah.
yeah, I say us, but I mean just in general.
You're
Well,
one of
even
us. One of
yeah, for
us.
sure, and
One of us.
e- even though it's a different country, what happens in the States is going to have a ripple effect into Canada, right?
It's
Like
true.
we obviously, whatever happens here doesn't have as much of a ripple effect into you, but there's no doubt that whatever happens in the States has a strong ripple effect into Canada. So, those kinds of rulings, they give our government more, you know, power to put in harsher rules, more taxation things, because they can go, oh, well, they just did it over there, so we can do it now too, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, everyone has to put in their time and put in their part if you really truly love and enjoy these kinds of things. And like I said, I try to do as much as I can here. Luckily, PCA just started an international branch, and I've gotten our local cigar herf groups to sign, petitions and online. It's super simple. It literally takes probably 2.5 minutes.
Hey,
And yeah.
let me see those teeth.
Oh, yeah. This
Are
is.
they, dude? Are they stained? It was fun. I was
Oh
watching you
yeah.
talk, and I was like, I remember you saying before the
I
show,
told
like,
you.
you're like, this is gonna be a very staining wine, and I was watching you talk, and I'm like,
This is a staining wine, man.
why do your teeth look all like dark and missing? And I'm like, oh yeah, the wine.
This wine is
You got, like,
brutal for
beet
that. Yeah,
teeth.
I'll have purple lips by the end of it.
Ooh. Yeah, I don't know about that. You can keep that to yourself. But I wanted to also say something too. There was something that happened over the weekend that I didn't know about. So we had spare notes this past Saturday. Me and Kevin were on. And something had happened earlier in the day that I actually wasn't aware of at the time that I probably would have addressed on spare notes, but since, we're here in this format tonight, I might as well. We had talked about Fuente Padron. Now, we're also talking about year in review and, some of the bigger stories of the year. The Fuente
It's a big
Padron
story.
has been one of the biggest, if not, the biggest, in terms of cigar products. In terms of anticipation, questions, people want to know when it's coming. This is a story that everyone's kind of known something about. They've known that it's coming, that nobody knew when, nobody knew how and what and how much. And it was first debuted at the show last year in 2022. When we got to the show this year, they wouldn't really talk about it. However, at the Fuente booth, it was on display. So, again, a lot of people wondering, hey, when's it coming? Obviously, it's a very high-profile release from two major manufacturers. Now, I would like to make a statement in response to the Cigar Authority. The Cigar Authority started their show on Saturday, and Dave and Dan, and from what I understand, this was kind of like Dan's idea. It seemed like it was his idea to bring this up and have this discussion on the Cigar Authority. So I've kind of directed this a little bit more at him, but they pretty much they spent some time trying to say how this is not a story. I can't believe the media ran with this, and Dan was the one who actually said, yeah, everyone, saw this Facebook post and they decided to write a story on it, and it's not really a story. It was all based on innuendos. And, then and they all said that, hey, this was shipping. And then when it didn't arrive at stores 2 weeks later, they all had to kind of, justify and like turn around and, and kind of come up with another, oh, well, it's delayed now, to like, in so many words. If you re-listen to the episode, you'll hear what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I just like to say that's very false. I know that myself and Charlie Minato and William Cooper and probably the folks at Cigar Aficionado, like Dave Savona and Marvin Shankin himself, have been in contact with Carlito Fuente, Ciro Casella, Jose Blanco, all of the high brass people at Arturo Fuente. And we have been in communication with them the entire time. And, they told us, like, look, we shipped it. It's on its way, it's left the factory. It's on its way. Just like so many other manufacturers, hey, it's left the factory. It's on its way. Not that
I
I'm
think
putting
Perdomo did that this year.
Perdomo? I was just about to say, I'm not putting Perdomo down, but Perdomo, hey, 30th has left the factory. It's on its way.
Huge release. People want to know when it's coming.
That's right. And Perdomo said when they were shipping it from their factory. Carlito Fuente told me on the phone, hey, Thanksgiving weekend, we put it in the container, we shipped it out, it's on its way. So it, the process has started. There's another container that's going to come, a little bit later.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Sent me a photo, sent me information, sent me quotes. We put a story together directly with the company. So, no, there was no innuendos made. There was not a story that was based on just a Facebook post. which I said to Dan, and he kind of, I don't know, he tried to turn it around like, well, they put you in a bad position.
Eh,
They didn't
no.
do anything. They told us that they had shipped a product and they gave us the information and we wrote a story. What happened is then, the container came in and Arturo Fuente claims that the container was dropped. Therefore, the humidors, the product inside the container was severely damaged to a point where they're not going to send it out that way. It's going to have to be gone through, sorted,
Well,
counted, and replaced. And so yeah, it's gonna put a delay. Now that delay, I mean, you're talking about something that could be weeks, months in delay to remake all those boxes down in the Dominican Republic, and then ship them back up. And it's Christmas too, so right now all the factories are closed for a couple weeks. So
yeah.
there's no one even down there right now to do it, even if they wanted to get started. So, yeah, that's the reality of the Fuente Padron situation, and I don't know, I wanted to clarify that because I just kind of felt like and I know it wasn't directed at me personally, but most of the other media guys I know really well, and we all respect each other, and I felt like anytime that when anyone uses the term media, like, oh, I can't believe the media wrote a story. I like to think we're all in this together. So I
Yeah.
like to respond that way, but it's not because I took it personally, but I took it, you know, not just personally, but also in response to my competitors and peers that I also have a lot of respect for, and that I know they have a lot of respect for me.
For sure.
So I just wanted to clarify that because I felt like that was inaccurate in itself. So now you know. Now you know how that story and the delayed notice came to be, why it was published on multiple websites. I know Coop has posted, he posted something
Like,
about how his stories are put together and how they're verified for
yeah.
information and stuff like that. So it's true. We don't just stick stuff up on the internet.
Yeah.
We're not fly by night here.
Again, like any credible source, we try as much as possible to get something from the actual source, right? Like, again, I don't think we've ever written a post based off of a Facebook post. I think maybe there was one, maybe like a couple that were like X person leaves company. But yeah, it's just to to say that, like, why are we reporting something that's that's, oh, it didn't even actually ship. It's like, dude, like, there's been multiple cases prior to this where people, brands have mentioned it's leaving the factory because, again, like we said, this is possibly the biggest ever cigar release to hit the market.
One of the biggest,
And
yeah. I mean, it's
one of
one of the most
again
talked about.
one one of the biggest. And the other thing is, like, if the package was dropped, even if nothing was damaged, they have to go through every single thing because, again, this is all, like, this whole thing is mainly speculation, but most of what we've heard so far is that people are going to get maybe 1 to 2 boxes per store. And if you get a box and it's damaged, it's like, okay, well, I guess there goes your box.
And
You
not to
don't get a
mention, there
box
was a
anymore.
retailer. There was a retailer who posted online saying that they started to get information on this, and they were told the MSRP was 10,000. So that hasn't been fully verified. But let's just play this
Yeah,
game,
in
right?
terms of price,
Let
yeah.
I look. I know it's going to be high, but let's play this game, right? So let's say it is. Let's just pretend that the MSRP is $10,000. Let's just pretend, okay? So at that price, if something was to happen to now, look, and the other thing I'm going to say first too is, if for some reason, and I'm not saying that they are, but I'm trying to play the devil's advocate here, so I can say that
Well,
I played
yeah,
all
we're
the
trying to look at
arguments.
all
Let's
aspects of
say
all
Arturo
aspects of it.
Fuente embellished on this, and they were planning to ship it, then something held it up, and then they made up, like, let's just pretend they did, okay? Let's pretend they did. If they came to the media and they told us information to put a story together and we don't know otherwise, that's not on us either. We put out what they told us, and usually manufacturers for the most part don't just make up stories out of thin air and put them out. I know it's been done, but it's not very common to that extent. So, in our defense too, like, if you know something we don't, then we weren't aware, but we were told by them, hey, it's running, it's going, so run the story, and we ran the story. But the other thing was, let's pretend it's a $10,000 box. If indeed there was damage that happened, of course they're going to go through with a fine-tooth comb, and they're going to check every square inch of every box. Not that any other, like, a regular release wouldn't matter. Obviously, every manufacturer, for the most part, is, really dialed in on their quality control from not just the cigars, but the packaging and everything like that. But there's definitely a difference in checking, on a container that was full of, Hemingway Masterpiece versus, this. There just is. There's a lot more attention on it. If a container of Hemingway Masterpieces gets damaged, Fuente is not going to ship it destroyed. They're going to fix it, but it's not really going to be a big deal because it's Hemingway, and you can get Hemingways all the time. This is a very special particular release with a lot of attention. They're gonna, and at the price that they potentially could command for it, yeah, they're not gonna fuck that up. No way.
Yeah.
So, again, and these things happen. These things happen. I know, as Mitchell, people in the business, and people who watch the show know people in the business. I talk to people all the time. I talk to a lot of manufacturers. These things happen. People know. John Carney is a very good friend of mine, very close friend of mine. I've heard some of the things that De La Flor Dominicana deals with. Nothing like bad that on them. Just part of doing business and logistics, and shit happens. There's been issues before. John's told me personally, like, they had some stuff that went out, it wasn't right. Then they did like a soft recall on it because they wanted to make it right, and they wanted to fix it, and then they reshipped all those products once they were fixed. These things happen, but it's not on us, and as far as we know, they happened. If they didn't, well, then that's on the manufacturer. So that's all. I just wanted to clear the air. That's all. There's no hate. I mean, I still love those guys, but I wanted to make sure that there wasn't false information floating around.
Yeah, again, how can they say we reported on something? Like, they don't know how we got our information. Again, we report on things that are either given to us or that we try to seek out and go to the source for.
Just like,
we don't post
not really
fallacies.
to like leave the topic, but just to hit on, like, all these trademark stories that have come out the last couple of days. When each of those was brought to my attention by the person the accuser, I went to the opposite side for a comment before I published the story on my website. I did.
Of course, we tried to.
Because it's the right thing to do. So it's like, someone's like, oh, hey, like, they infringe on our copyright. I went to the other side and said, hey, so and so saying that you did this, just trying to be fair. Do you have a statement on that? Do you deny this? Is there a reason why? Like, do you have a trademark? This is your time to speak up and say that's bullshit, or, you know what? I'm not going to make it as Davidoff did today. I spoke with someone from Davidoff, and I said, hey, I'm just, I'm coming to you, blah, 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 blah. He said, can't really comment on it. I'm going to decline the comment right now. And I said, that's fine, which is also not out of the ordinary. A lot of times companies are like, hey, this is new. We're being accused. I'm not going to say anything. We got to talk to our lawyers and get our head wrapped around it. Totally understand. But at least I give them that opportunity if they want to say something. So, again, it's all about, vetting your sources and looking for credibility and, for confirmation and trying to be fair when it's a dispute between two parties or two or more.
Of course. Matt, someone just arrived at my door that I literally have to go to right now.
You have to get up and leave?
They were not supposed to be here at all, and I don't know why they're here.
Who is it?
But
who's done this to us?
I don't know.
It's a mysterious person?
Give me like 2 minutes. I'll be back. The next topic I wanted to talk about, which you can start talking about, was, since we're on Arturo Fuente, and one of the biggest stories happened earlier this year was the warehouse fire.
That's
and
true.
Just fires in general that have happened.
True.
So if you wanna start recapping people on that, since it was
Oh,
quite a
don't
few
worry. I
months
got
ago and
something.
what
I got
happened,
something. Just go answer the door. Go
I'll
answer
be
the door.
back
Go answer the
as
door.
quick as I possibly
Go
can.
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. All right, let's wait for him to go. All right, now that he can't hear me, how dare that person interrupt our broadcast here? I hope he tells them to, go kick rocks. I mean, this is a disruption to the show. I'm out here alone now, trying to defend the dead air by myself. It's very rare that I have to do this. Kevin's in the comments. Sanj Patel was here. He said good night, but thank you, Sanj, for being here with us tonight. I appreciate you stopping by. Jason's here. Thanks, guys, for being here, watching, commenting along. We appreciate it. But yeah, Kevin is here. Smokin Tabacco, Kevin. Ask us questions. Oh, okay. Let's see. What's a good question for you guys? Let's see. Let's keep it cigar related. Why not, right? You know what? Fuck it. It doesn't have to be cigar related, even though cigars might be the answer. What does everybody want for Christmas this year? Or what do people think they're going to get for Christmas? That they've been hinting around like, hey, Christmas is coming. Just saying right here. I want one of these. Maybe two, but one will do, but two, I'll love you forever. Who thinks they have their big Christmas present dialed in this year? Nicole and I. Oh, Barbara's here. Hello, Barbara. Nicole and I bought each other some small stuff for Christmas, but we ultimately decided that the new house that we bought was pretty much our Christmas present to each other and to ourselves. So I think Christmas is gonna be a little mild this year for us, at least between the two of us. But that's a pretty good Christmas gift, That's pretty good. I'd say it ranks high in the all-time list. Can't really go wrong with that. Oh, all right. Let's find out what's going on here. Let's find out who the intruder of the broadcast was. What's going on over here, Mitchell? Who was that?
So,
How dare they?
I guess a little backstory.
I hope you told them how rude this was. They need to go kick rocks.
Yeah, they're supposed to give me like 12-hour notice before they do things like this, but I'm the president of our housing board.
Oh.
And so I have access to a lot of things in our complex, and they just needed access to a specific spot, and it's like, how about just like message me at least, not just show up to my house in like the middle of dinner time. But that's not
or
here nor there.
showtime. You're working right
but
now.
I got it. I'm working. I ran as fast as I could to go open the door. Luckily, I found the key in 1 second, and it was all good.
I hope you know that this will be reflected in your compensation plan.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
It's all right. It's I got to put a demerit in there. It'll come up at your year-end review. Be like, you left me hanging for 3 minutes on the show. You got to do your business on your own time. And Mitchell will be like, I'm so sorry, because he's Canadian and he can't help but be polite and apologetic. I had asked everybody what they thought they were getting for Christmas this year, because I just needed something quick.
Nice.
Let's see. Jason said, ask his questions. He said, I'm wishing for a new car lease. LOL, as long as the truck is full with cougars. Or, cigars. Yeah,
cigars.
That makes more sense. I'm like, that's okay. If it's full of
whatever you're
cigars,
into
why
there.
not? Fuck it. That's what I call a 2-for-1 right there. It's a 2-for-1.
Hey, talking about trucks, opinion on the Cybertruck?
The board said you're smoking too much? Yeah, I don't know. Mitchell will try to fight that one.
Nah, they don't care.
Yeah. Brendan Cox is here. What up, Brendan? Brendan's from Vintage Cigar Lounge. Shout out to those guys. Westerly, Rhode Island. Sorry. I almost stumbled on that one. If you guys are ever in the area of Westerly, on the border of Connecticut and Rhode Island, anyone who's been down to Foxwoods, Mohegan, it is a 10-15 minute ride from there. Highly recommend it. Go check those guys out. Great people, great lounge. I know they're also in the process of doing some facelifting, as Brendan put it when I was there 2 weeks ago. So go give those guys some love, especially if you're a Drew Estate. They're a big Drew Estate lounge. If you're a Drew Estate person, that's definitely a lounge you want to go check out. They have a lot of Drew Estate stuff there. A lot of cool Drew Estate stuff. A lot of limited stuff. That is the place to be. Kevin had said something here. Matthew, share your top 3 favorite Christmas movies. Curious, since our buddy Coop shared his on another show, and it's obvious he knows as little about Christmas movies as he does gas station snacks and fast food. Well, ain't that the truth? Top 3 Christmas movies. I gotta go with Elf. I gotta
I was
go
gonna
with
say
Elf.
Elf is up there.
My sister and I really bonded over that movie, so that she'd be disappointed if I didn't say that. That's a big one. Home Alone. I always
Yeah,
loved Home Alone.
Home Alone for sure.
And then I'm going to go with another one my sister and I used to bond over. And it's not a classic, but it's, by any means. It's just a good Christmas movie that my sister and I bonded over and we joke about and quote all the time. So for us, it's fun. That's Four Christmases with Vince Vaughn. Again, I
don't
know
know if I've seen that.
it's not a big one. It's not a classic. It's just one that I have a lot of memories watching with my sister. So that's one that we always talk about. So those are probably like my 3. Of course, I love most of them. Even the strange one that Arnold Schwarzenegger did. What was that one called?
Jingle All the Way.
Was it Jingle All the Way? It's funny. I saw
think
this
so.
meme. Actually, no, it was a reel. It was a reel on like Facebook or Instagram the other day, and once I saw this, I go, what's fucked up? I never even thought of this, like, because you get wrapped up in the movie, and I also haven't seen it in a long time. But someone made a reel about how, like, at the end when Arnold is dressed up as the whatever the kid's toy was. Was it like Turbo
Some
Man?
superhero action?
Yeah, it was like
hero,
some
right?
fictional, like it was like Turbo Man or something like that. And it was like, and the kid's like, "Oh my God, Turbo Man! My dad, like blah blah blah," and he's like all upset about it. And it's like, "I yelled at my dad, or whatever." And it's like, I know it's a movie, I know he's a little kid, but it's like you're talking about Arnold Schwarzenegger, not like fucking Jeremy Renner. I mean, you don't know that that's him. I mean, it was so funny. Like, they're like, "Oh, you don't know that that's Arnold?" Like, the accent is so indistinguishable. Like, and I'm like, yeah, that's a good point. It just ruined that movie
He's
for
a
me.
kid. Yeah.
Kevin, not horrible, Matt. Top 3 of all time: National Lampoon, Elf, and Die Hard. Die Hard's another one. I gotta watch. I haven't watched Die Hard yet this year. I gotta get that one in before the weekend, before Christmas is over. I gotta get Die Hard in. It's not Christmas till Hans Gruber falls off Nakatomi Plaza. That's what they say, right?
I personally also really enjoy Debatably Christmas Story, but it has the word Christmas in the title. The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, shoot your eye out, kid. Yeah, I don't know. I didn't love that one. It's not a bad one. I know it's a classic. I don't hate it, but I just, I'm like, I never really got into it.
Yeah, that's fair. It is very eccentric.
Like, I watched it once and I was like, I'm done.
Yeah, that's fair.
But I won't hate on it. No. There's a lot of good Christmas movies out there. Excuse me, I'm sorry. What was the one? What was the one with Tim Allen and Jamie Lee Curtis when they decide they're not going to do Christmas? They're going to go on vacation. So, like, they pretend like Christmas is not happening, and then their neighbors get all bullshit because they're like, "You didn't decorate your house," and, "Oh, you're not having Christmas," and, like, "You guys are going on vacation instead." What was that movie? That was kind of a funny one. Ooh, Kevin! Kevin's throwing some shade. Christmas Story with the throw-up emoji. Ooh. Now that's hate right there. And I'm not saying that I'm going to, like, but I didn't love the movie, so I'm not going to, like, fight Kevin on it, but Kevin's got a pretty strong stance on Christmas Story right there.
I like that movie. I like A Christmas Story.
I know somebody who doesn't like National Lampoon.
Was it Christmas with the Cranks? No.
Yeah, Christmas with the Cranks.
I'm trying to Google it. I don't know if I saw that. I might have.
Brendan Cox said Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas is the jam from my childhood. I don't know that. I don't know what that is. I have to look up that one.
Emmett Otter's Jug Band. Oh ho ho!
You probably know what it
I've
is.
seen
I don't know what
this.
that is. Maybe if I saw
I think
it.
I've seen this.
I don't know. It doesn't sound familiar to me. But yeah, Kevin, you gotta tell us why throw up on Christmas Story. I don't know anything about that one. That's an interesting one.
Yeah.
I don't know what that's all about.
Take care.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, but I know someone who doesn't like the National Lampoon one. It's good. It's good. It's good. And that's Mr. Bear Duplessis of El Oso Fumar
course.
Takes.
Of course.
Yeah, Bear.
He
does
only
not
just
like,
doesn't like it because
he doesn't
of
like Chevy Chase. That's what it is. He fucking hates him with a passion. Oh, so Kevin just said it's a stupid movie. Period. So Kevin feels that Christmas Story is just a stupid movie. Wow. I don't know why. I just like I'm like amused by that because it's just so fucking random. Like,
yeah, it is.
it's like a popular one. Kevin's like, that's just a stupid movie. I don't know if it was a stupid movie, but like, I don't hate it that much. But Kevin's out here throwing some daggers. Did everyone get their unicorn type of cigar before the year end?
I smoked mine at the show. I got it, but I smoked it right away. I tend not to save my unicorn type cigars. And also, I don't get to smoke too many cigars at the end of the year. So, I don't get to smoke around Christmas or New Year's, so I just smoke them when I can. But
I don't know if I really had a true unicorn. I mean, and in the effort of not sounding I've been fortunate enough to come into access to a lot of stuff. Not always easily, but I generally find my way to it, even if it's at least one. And so there's been a lot. Not that like nothing was exciting. That's not what I'm saying. But like there's just been a lot of stuff that I've smoked this year. Like a lot of like really cool stuff, and it's just hard to like say that like one of them was the one. I mean, there's been a couple that I really looked forward to. Like Davidoff's Year of the Dragon. I bring that up again. I did look forward to that because. Well, no, I looked forward to that one because, again, because they've been doing the Zodiacs and, every year it's kind of, okay, how's this one going to be? Because they've been kind of, I'd say mixed review, every year there's a group that likes them and there's a group that hates them. And I think I missed out on the Rabbit. But, generally they've been, I don't think any of them have been complete trash, but there's some that have been better than others. I thought so I've smoked the Davidoff Year of the Dragon, and I thought it was pretty good. I liked it. I definitely, if you know anything about the cigar, it has about a half inch of uncovered foot, and I definitely didn't love that part of it. Once I got to the wrapper and I got to taste that, like I thought it kind of brought the cigar back together. But it's very quick. It's not like it's a long uncovered foot. It's real small. But it wasn't enough to really like sink the whole cigar. I thought the cigar was pretty good. That's like a unicorn one. It's a very limited release. I thought that was good. There's been a few others. What was yours that I don't even remember that you smoked at the show? Was it the Alfonso?
You gave it to me.
Was it Alfonso?
You gave it to me. No. Close. You're very close. It came out this year. We didn't have a Grand Celestion this year. Same company, different brand. Atabay 10-year.
Oh, we got that. We got that at the show. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because I smoked it with you. We were at the Treasure Island.
Yeah,
I remember that. Yeah.
It was.
That's when I tried to get my friend Matt to. That's when I tried to get my friend Matt to find a nice lady of the evening to keep him company, but he wouldn't do it. To be fair, there was a lot of alcohol flowing that night. So.
Yeah, there was a lot of. Yeah. It was a fun night. But no, that was great cigar. Personally, I think like anything like that, you always compare it to the original. I think I've enjoyed the original Atabey with 5 years of age on it more than the 10-year. It definitely, the 10-year is stronger and more flavorful because it takes on so much more of that wood process, right? Because he's so intimate with that humidity up and down and the shaving of the wood and sanding it and imbuing the cigar with the aroma and of the wood. For me, it took away a little bit of that balance. I find the Atabey just standardized 5 years aged in there. Um, it really is that really nice balance of wood, sweetness, complexity. Uh, it is so mild, but you just every puff is enjoyable to the nub, right? So, um, again, amazing cigar. The 10-year is amazing. If you can find it, if you love Atabey, get yourself the 10-year aged Atabey. I forget what the exact name they call it, like the Dios something. It's Spanish,
Diosis.
but Diosis. That's
Yeah,
it.
the Diosis.
Awesome. And again, something I've been looking forward to since I heard they were coming out with it.
There's other
Coming up
sizes
to
now too.
this year.
But they're exclusive. I think
Oh,
Industrial Cigar Lounge they got a different size that was 10-year age. It might have been the Mysticos. I don't
now that
remember, but I remember
would be interesting.
they made an announcement a few months ago that they were going to have an exclusive 10-year age, but it was a different size.
Cool. Cool.
Um,
I'd say that was the unicorn cigar for me this year, at least that I knew would be hard for me to get, and I was extremely fortunate to get my hands on that.
you smoked that whole
And
thing too. I know you weren't gonna waste that
oh, of course,
because you
of
lit that
course,
up
that was
pretty
the
late
first
at
cigar of
night,
the
and
evening.
that's a long cigar. I mean, that's a borderline A. So I mean, it's just under 9 inches. So I remember being like, "Are you gonna?" And I think I went upstairs, and you're like, "Oh no, I'm gonna stay down here and I'm gonna finish this." And I'm like, "Good."
Of
So,
course, of course.
good for you. You went the extra mile. Matt Ty alcohol? I have no idea what you're talking about. That's a fucking lie. I've drank with Matt Ty on several occasions. I will tell you that is a lie. I'm getting Maury Povich
Yeah,
out here. We're gonna take that lie detector test.
yeah. This year I've been really stepping back from the bourbon. I'd say in terms of alcohol, I'd
I
say
did
maybe
too.
2, 3, 4
I
years
lightened
ago
up.
I
I
was
light.
really hitting the bourbon hard.
Me too. I lightened up.
Yeah. I've been exploring some mixed cocktails. I've been exploring wine, obviously, having wine tonight. Exploring a bit of rum. I even sent you that Cuban rum this year too.
That's right.
Exploring
That's
some
right.
rum.
Thank you. Mitchell sent me down some Havana Club. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I got
So
a
I've
guy.
I've been kind of like diversifying a little bit outside of just bourbon. I've never been a Scotch fan to begin with, so I don't really drink too much Scotch. Huge Irish whiskey fan though. Huge Irish whiskey fan.
I knew
So
you were. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Um.
But yeah,
Yeah. As far
let's
as
get
that
back to
goes,
some of these big
I
stories
know.
if you
I
want
know.
to.
I know that you were being awkwardly quiet, but I was trying to do Coop. When he kind of like gets to the end of that thing, and you ever notice that he just kind of goes like, so yeah, and as far as that goes, so. Yeah, well, let's talk about, and he kind of moves on to the next topic. I always know when Coop's, I have to say, the one thing I love about Coop is that I always know when he's done talking on the phone. I do. And I love that. It's not a knock on him whatsoever. I always know when I'm on the phone with Coop, I know when he's ready to go. He might not say it, because he doesn't want to, just jump off the phone, but I know when he's done. And I love that. You know why? Because I know when to wrap it up and be like, you know what, Coop, I'm going to let you go. Some people will just keep on going and going and going, and you're like, all right, I got to go. So, sorry, but I got to have to kind of just end this conversation. Coop, can read him like a book, man. I always know. I'm like, you know what? He's done. All right, Coop. I'm going to let you go. I'm going to hit the hay. And he's like, all right, man. Sounds good. And he's gone. And
Yep.
I don't waste any more of his time. And I got to give it to him for it, I do.
Definitely. Good guy.
Unlike some
But
people.
yeah, what we were talking about what we were talking about before was the Arturo Fuente fire again, kind of hitting on
Oh,
big
yes,
stories.
that's right. That was another
You
big
know,
story. They lost one of their warehouses where they kept over 1 million pounds of tobacco.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the pictures, go to smokintabacco.com. I think if you just look up Arturo Fuente Fire,
Yeah,
you'll be one of the first on.
you search for it, it'll pop
The
up.
photos are devastating. It's just they're so fortunate that I think it only affected one warehouse, right? So
Yeah, one warehouse, but again, I mean, it was a pretty substantial loss. I mean, look, I know there's a lot of conspiracy theories that came out after that too. Look, I don't know how it happened, and I think that there's a lot of people that probably will never know how it happened. But these things happen. Unfortunately, as long as nobody got hurt, that's I think what matters most. But unfortunately, in terms of doing business, yeah, I mean that sucks. That's a substantial loss. It's um, that they've had to deal with.
huge.
But one of the things about them as a company is they've always seemed to overcome. So I have
Of
faith in
course.
them. They'll bounce back from it. A lot of companies could are capable of that too. But it's just it's one of those things, man. You have to swallow it, keep moving forward,
Yep.
and just make the best of the situation. Yeah, Kevin's here. Kevin's all fired up tonight. I bet you Kevin wishes he was on the show right now. But let's read off. I know we've talked a lot about news stuff, but I want to make an official news. Just for our friends at McAuliffe
Segment.
Cigars. Yeah, I mean they're here. They help put this show on, so I want to make sure they get their spotlight. I was gonna do it earlier, but then the conversation kind of changed. But our official news is brought to you once again by McAuliffe Cigars, featuring the McAuliffe Black, rated 91 at smokintabacco.com. McAuliffe Black, it's a blackout. Something a little bit more lighthearted. We love stuff like this. This went out on the website earlier today. Because I like to cover some other stuff too. Dissident Cigars donated some land to support a Nicaraguan animal rescue center. For those who don't know, Dissident Cigars was recently purchased last year by Sin and Josh Coburn. They had not been in the industry before, but they were big cigar smokers, and they acquired the brand. It's mostly led by Sin Coburn now, from what I understand, and she's a great person. Nicole. She's one of the nicest people I think that I've ever met, and is definitely in this industry. Very caring, and they sent this story out today, and we put it out, and she announced that Dissident Cigars has donated land near San Juan del Sur in Nicaragua, designated for the construction of Nicaragua's first ever of its kind animal rescue center. The current SOS Animales, how you say it, Nicaragua veterinary clinic and shelter is simply out of room and is frequently forced to turn away animals in need. We've done a lot of charity stuff here. Obviously, you guys know about the raffle we do every year, and animals are another thing that I really hit home for me. I really care a lot about animals and stuff like that. Animals and kids. Those are the ones that just it always gets me. It gets me so easily. So stories like this to me I get excited about, because it's a soft spot for me. So I thought that was really cool. You can read the whole article and you can get some more information. There's a link to a GoFundMe for donating money towards their cause. It's on smokintabacco.com. You can find it. It's still on the homepage right near the top. You can find the link. You can kind of see some photos of some of the stuff they got going on down there. So I don't know. It's something different, and I like to do some different stuff when the opportunity presents itself. And just a huge shout out to Sin and everyone down there. Just doing something nice for the community. I think it speaks again to what this industry is all about. So that's our official news for the week. I know it's tough to do a whole year in review in the hour and a half to just shy of 2 hours that we do this show. There's a lot of stuff that comes up during the year, and if we didn't mention it, it's not because it wasn't big enough. It's a short window with a lot of stuff to cram in there. So
there is one last big one I think that we should touch on, and someone mentioned Room 101 Gin. Obviously, Room 101 being acquired last year, and this year STG acquiring Alec Bradley. That was probably
That's true.
That's definitely, especially with a
The
a
Alec Bradley
public figure
acquisition
of
was a big deal.
$72.5 million.
Yeah.
They publicly announced how much they were acquiring the brand for. There was a lot around who would still be working with the Alec Bradley brand under STG, who would be moving on. And yeah, I think it was just, again, we have a few articles on our website that you can check out, but one of the biggest stories of the year for sure was the acquisition, and that
Of
got a lot
Alec
of people
Bradley.
talking.
Yeah,
Yep,
I mean, STG's empire continues to grow. Yeah, I remember we were at TPE when that finally was made official and came out. And I remember I woke up in my hotel room that morning, and my laptop was laying on the floor next to me in my phone, and I picked up my phone, and I was in Las Vegas at the time, so I was 3 hours behind the rest of the world. And I just remember I rolled over, opened my phone, I had all these notifications, and I was like, oh, okay. And I had like 7 of them from Coop and other people, and I'm like, okay. And it was just like, boom, Alec Bradley sold to General, and I'm like, what? And I just remember I sat up, I started making phone calls and preparing that story to go out. And then I said to Nicole, like, we got to get over there, and I want to talk to Bradley because I want to get to him before the rest of the world starts to swarm him. And we got there early, and I got right in there, and I went right up to Bradley, and I'm like, and he's like, this all just happened. So I don't really have too much I can say. But yeah, no, it was a big story, and it just kind of it caught me off guard, especially just being at TPE and already being wrapped up in all that, and
yeah,
it was surprising. You saw the number, the 72.5 million, like you said. It's a lot of money for a company that didn't have, a lot of facilities and farms, factories, and
again, that was all brand based.
That was all brand based for 72.5 million.
Yep, and mind you, maybe brand based plus contracts, right? Like from what I've heard, again, we don't get all the details, but most of the contracts in terms of where and how the cigars are being produced are staying with those similar brands and or similar factories and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a bit more, and I'm sure obviously as well as like their entire inventory of what they've created and what's going to be created, right? So but unlike some of the other, like that was 72 million on a huge portion of brand, right? There wasn't like, it wasn't like if someone's going to go acquire Perdomo and it's like, oh, you get all of these factories, all of this land, all of these box making things, like, or if someone's to acquire Fuente, same thing. It was, Alec Bradley was a majority outsourcing based kind of branding style company. And so, yeah, it was, and again, amazing. Congratulations, Alan Rubin. Just like, building something from the ground up, and
yeah, they're all set.
And
the Bradleys are all, I mean, the Rubins are all set. That was
and the boys seem like they're still wanting to stay in the industry, right? Like they're still working hard with STG to, hold the name of Alec Bradley up. It's the brand was named after them, right?
Right.
It's
yeah.
like,
as well as Alec and Bradley, which I also believe was part of it too. So, which was kind of just the boys' project,
Yeah.
That was cool. So yeah, they've stayed on.
I
and
heard too much about the Alec and Bradley and where that's kind of heading, but.
And again, it's going to be interesting to see where all these brands go after a few years. You get bought out at first. It's like, all right, they stay on, but I just hope for both of Room 101, Alec Bradley. I hope that there isn't too much major change, and people attached stay on for a while.
Yeah.
I think that would be great to see them continue to blossom. I mean, those are two brands that they're great brands, great people. I wish them nothing but the best. But General's been on a buying spree the last several years. So. And there's constantly
next year.
There's constantly speculation about who's going to be next, and I'm here. We've talked about like the rumors of certain people, but I also heard separate rumors of regardless of who it is, there's going to be another one. next year from
Yep.
General. So
Yep.
again, we'll see. I mean, General is they're out there to stake their empire, and they're growing. I mean, it's a big company. Scandinavian Tobacco is a big company. So
Absolutely.
them buying more people won't be a shock, especially at this point. We'll see what happens. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I don't know if they were in. I guess like the last one, not a huge story, but again, for industry wise, 3 of the big 4 coming back to the PCA next year officially, and in
And trade
possible
show
full
related
form.
news, yeah, that was probably
Yeah,
yeah.
that was pretty big.
I mean, it's great to see that.
Especially
I
for
mean,
Stanley back.
it's not having those people at the show is great for everybody. It's great for business. It's great for the PCA. I mean, it's more money that's coming in for the PCA. The trade show has moved. There's a lot of changes to the trade show.
Yeah.
We're going. It's been moved up to the spring. It will visit New Orleans in 2025. After that, we don't know, but they're
Very,
playing
very
around with a lot
exciting
of
things
different
for the
things.
industry.
Yeah. So,
But
which is good. I mean, I don't know. I think moving the trade show up is going to be interesting to see. How does that affect the timeline and what gets released in the year, and I know a lot of manufacturers do try to plan around that trade show. So, it'll be interesting to see the ripple effect of making those changes, and if they work. And it sounds to me like it's gonna stay this way for a while. Even if for some reason it's not hot out of the gate, but it's sounding like this is what most people wanted. So, I mean, it sounds to me like this is the way it's gonna be. So, trade show wise, some major changes there. It's more of a developing situation. We'll see how that pans out over the next 2 years. But it was a busy year. It was a busy year. Weird year. Prices went up. You're starting to see the ripple effect of the pandemic time, and a lot of the things that happened then that are, you're just seeing now, because these things take time. Projects that began and were being worked on coming to fruition. With everything, with the inflation and cost of everything just worldwide right now. But especially here in the U.S., we saw a lot of things go up, a lot of price changes. Lines get dropped at the end of last year, and things being changed so that way, companies can be in a different position for this year and adding to their portfolio and stuff like that. So in terms of the monetary side of it too, yeah, there was some substantial changes as well. It'd be curious to see how it pans out in 2024, but certainly don't see it going too backward at the least.
yeah.
But this was one of those shows that we usually do, just kind of talk about the year. To be honest, it was nice. I intentionally left this one kind of where it was because I think this is a great time to do this show. In case I couldn't make it, I know that you guys could have done this show without me, but next week I won't be on the show. I have opted to sit this one out while I get myself situated. So next week's going to be Mitchell and McTavish from Developing Palates.
John McTavish.
They are going to do a Cuban cigar episode. So if you are a Cuban cigar guy, next week is the week to tune into this show for sure, because I don't think we've ever done one. I've smoked Cubans on the show before, or at least I think I've smoked Cubans on the other show. But I have them. I smoke them from time to time. I mean, it's part of being involved with cigars, but we've never really done a show on it. So I figured I'll let the 2 Canadian guys who probably smoke them more than I do a whole show on them. And I'll set it out because I have big things to tackle next week. So
now, for those who have access to Cubans, I think I am going to be smoking an H-Chumpin Connoisseur B. I either have a Connie A or B. I forget which one. It's in my humidor somewhere that I've been sitting on for a little bit. A friend that I've been wanting to get to. I'm not 100% sure what John's going to smoke, but I'm sure he's got access to a good few things. But yeah, I think what we're going to try to tackle on that show is just kind of like international market versus U.S. market, right? What are the biggest difference? What's the Cuban market been doing? I had some friends this year go to the Partagas Festival, and they've kind of reported back to me kind of what they saw and what what Cuba's looking like, and
The Habanos
then yeah,
Festival or the Partagas Festival?
is the Partagas Festival. The Habanos Festival, I think, is happening soon-ish. But yeah, this was the
February.
Partagas Festival that was, yeah, in a couple months. This was about 3 weeks ago, I think, was the Partagas Festival.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So yeah, you get a tour like around there, um, and yeah, so I'll be kind of talking about that. And again, obviously, being in Canada, a lot of the guys I smoke with are Cuban cigar smokers, so they're
course.
always talking about that side of the industry. So yeah, we'll talk about that and
You guys
all
should
that
do
good
some
stuff.
Cuban.
And then,
You guys should do some Cuban rum too. Keep it all on theme. I mean, I don't care
yeah,
what you do. I don't
I
care
know,
what you
I
do.
know, I know. John's a huge Scotch guy. If he is gonna pair, I assume he's gonna pull out a Scotch. I don't know. I think I might just go with water to just really, really allow that cigar to shine in itself and see what I can pull out from it. Because I know Cuban cigars are much milder generally, and especially H. Upmann being a pretty mild brand. So
Well, Cubans definitely have a distinctive taste, and there's,
yep,
it's one of the contributing factors to why, true. I know I'm gonna say something's gonna piss people off, but it fucking has to be said. All right, so get over it. True Cuban cigar smokers, meaning the people who smoke Cuban cigars because they genuinely enjoy Cuban tobacco, they like Cuban cigars, they like that taste, they like that. Not the people who smoke Cuban cigars just because they're Cuban. Sorry, I had to say it. Because there are people out there that they smoke them for the
for the band.
for the band and the novelty of, oh, it's Cuban. Well, okay, and that's fine, but I don't know. I guess I'm too much of a purist. I don't know. If you're gonna smoke it for the tobaccos. Look,
Yeah.
the Cuban cigars are not what they used to be. Okay, they're not. Quality control is not their strong suit, to say the least. And when they do have decent grade tobacco that they're working with, like some of the stuff that they use, some of their higher tier stuff. Cuban tobacco has a distinctive flavor, and it is tasty, and it is a flavor I enjoy. Why do I not smoke more Cuban cigars? Is it because I live in the United States? No, that doesn't really stop me. It may slow it down, but no, it's just honestly, I don't see the need in overpaying for cigars that quality wise are not guaranteed at all. And I can buy cigars I know for a fact are going to be, very comparable, that are much higher in quality and easier to get and better in price. But there are Cuban cigars that I do enjoy. I have my favorites. Partagas Serie D #4, the Serie E #5.
Classic.
Cohiba Siglo 6,
Oli.
Siglo 3, the Siglo Medio, the Monte Cristo #2. There's I have my favorites. Sure, I've smoked them all on plenty of occasions, but they're not my regular go-tos. But when they're good, they're good. But half the time, they're not.
Yep.
And so I don't waste my time. But I don't hate them. That's my stance. But anyway, it's better off that you guys do that show without me. So I'll let you guys do your thing, and
It'll be a fun show.
it'll be fun.
super
And
fun
I can
show.
focus. I can focus on getting my home situated, which has been
Yeah.
such a handful. So I was
And
like, I don't want
next
to worry
week
about dealing with
also-
the show. Like, Mitchell, this is your thing. I need a break. I have things to do. So Mitchell will do the last show of the year without me. Hopefully you guys enjoy that, and then I'll be back in January with Kevin.
I was gonna say another notice. Next week will be my last official regular show.
That's right. We talked about that last
For
week.
the year. Yeah, so if you don't tune in every week, next week will be the last time to see me regularly. I'm gonna be on. I'm gonna try to be on for when we do the Cigar of the Year list reveal. But outside of that, that'll just be a one-off. I will not be here unless I am absolutely needed on Wednesday. So
Kevin, to answer your question, sorry.
say goodbye to me.
So Yeah, say goodbye to Mitchell next week. He's not disappearing forever. He just won't be
No, I'll be still
regularly.
doing reviews. I'll be writing articles. You'll see me on the Saturday show every once in a
He's not
while. You'll
leaving
see
the
me on
team. He's
show
not
every
going
once in a while.
anywhere. He just can't be on the show. He'll be all right.
Yeah, exactly.
But to answer your question, Kevin, that's not necessarily what I'm saying, but maybe they do have access and they just choose not to. I don't know. I don't know. Don't even get me started with the people who post daily and they're like, "Are these real?" And it's like, and the thing is with those posts that I love too, right? They either post stuff that's like blatantly like, even if you're not a regular cigar smoker, it's like, does that look real to you? Come on, it looks so cheap. And then you get the people who post like real shit, and they're like, is this real? And granted, maybe those people don't know, but then you get the people in the comments who, are keyboard warriors and like, oh no, it's the chief is like the wrong size, and there's 300 dots, and there's only supposed to be like 275. It's like, it's a real fucking Cuban. Like, I can tell by looking at it. I have been around the block enough times to know that's a real Cuban cigar. And I'm like, where do these people come from? Like,
the internet.
just who cares? Just fucking smoke it. You got a cigar in your hand. Fucking smoke it. It's about the experience. At the end of the day, it's about the experience. If you've learned nothing from this show or any show, we could talk to you about the great cigars, the bad cigars, the fun cigars, the cool cigars. And it's all fun stuff. At the end of the day, if you got a cigar, and especially if you got some people to smoke it with, that's all you need. It really is. It doesn't take much. That's the best advice I could give any cigar smoker is if you have cigars, as long as it's smokable and it doesn't taste like complete ass, and you got a good drink maybe, and you got someone to smoke it with, that's the best. That's the best you can and you're going to get, and enjoy it. Enjoy it. That's my advice. So I'm gonna end this show on that. That's my closing card. So don't forget to visit SmokinTabacco.com for more cigar news, reviews, and updates from the industry. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all of our social media platforms and everywhere you can get your podcasts. Mitchell and John McTavish holding down the fort next week. Cuban cigar episode.
Merry
Don't
Christmas.
miss it. Merry
Happy
Christmas.
holidays.
Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Want to make sure we cover them all. It's a special time of the year. Enjoy it, whatever your holiday is.
Enjoy the family.
To you and the family, these are the special times. Enjoy. Don't get too shit-faced. Don't get angry if you didn't get what you wanted. Just be grateful. At the end of the day, just be grateful. You have your health, and everything else, and keep it lit. We'll see you next week. I'll see you in 2024. This is my goodbye for 2023. But keep it lit. I'll see you next year. Mitchell, have fun. Do your thing, and they'll see you next week. All right, guys, take care.
See you next week.
Good night, everybody.